Mr. Barry, talk to us, man. How is life and how have you been in general?
Been fantastic. Thank you very much. This is my 43rd year
Mm,
in comedy.
yeah.
So, and I really, really love it. However, I've transitioned into public speaking now, and I do a very, very serious but seriously funny talk on
Mm.
mental health and how humor helps you get over such problems because I've been there. It's basically a story of my life. It's called My Life in 3D. My struggles with depression, dyslexia, and ADHD. But I'm still here.
Yeah. I mean, yes, we appreciate you being here, and we know that
No,
your comedy has lived through quite some time right here, and we still enjoy your comedy. So, for someone who doesn't know you, man, you are an esteemed comedian, and you have also last year we have found out that you were partnering with Intercare, using your voice and your personal experience to break mental health stigma.
yes.
Leveraging your journey with mental health challenges, you aimed to dismantle the stigmas surrounding mental health and encourage public participation in this vital initiative. Can you please take us through that? Why do you think it is very important to raise such things in our community in general?
Well, if you think about you've got asthma, you tell a friend, I've got asthma. They say, oh, go to the doctor, use this pump, this vent, it's fine. I've got cholesterol, use this. I got a bit of sugar, use this. Do that, do that, do that. But as soon as you say to somebody, I'm suffering with mental fatigue and I'm unsure about myself, and quite frankly, I feel like ending it all, and you have suicidal thoughts or whatever, you'll find like people just go, thanks very much, bye, and they leave you alone. Because people are almost like too scared to talk about mental health issues. But we don't realize how much there is out there. Mental health issues affects everybody from teenagers to right up to the top. I had a breakdown 5 years ago, which made me start thinking about this. And I ended up in a clinic. And in one of the things that I was at there was a whole ward, one whole ward dedicated for teenage girls. And that shocked me to my core. You think these poor girls, and I was asking them some questions. It's bullying. Are you too fat? You're ugly. Nobody likes you. Da, da, da. So it's a massive, massive problem. And I thought it was only basically for older folk, for the bullies like me, but it's not. Mental health issues start from school. And my whole talk is about stuff that's happened in my life and how I've used humor to find resilience to get through, because everybody has problems in their life. And strangely enough, everybody has the ability to have humor. When you are with your friends, you feel comfortable to discuss that. But past your circle of friends, you are scared to try any form of humor for fear of rejection. So basically, my talk is about, dude, there is a dark side of the moon, and as soon as we get ESCOM to leave there, it might brighten up. So you use jokes and stuff like that to make you feel happier.
So you've been in the comedian space for quite some time, and you've
Yep.
had, of course, mental challenges. So walk us through on how you dealt with those challenges.
For a long time, I hid them away and I suppressed them, which was very, very bad. It started off when I couldn't sleep because and you think to yourself, what happens if I wake up tomorrow and they don't like me? What happens if my humor's not appreciated by this? What happens if that? What happens if I? So you end up worrying about the future, which is the only person that can change your future to a certain degree is yourself. So many, and then you end up in this spiral of depression that you just think you're not good enough. And before I carry on, I will tell you that people often say to me, "Wow, you Barry Hilton. I mean, you're like the Godfather here. Well, how can you have depression?" And
Mm.
I say two words: Robin Williams. Because we all know Robin Williams, arguably the greatest comic that ever lived, killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
He had everything, but he didn't have stability enough to keep himself alive. So he, for some obscure reason, we don't know why, but he chose to end his life. And you think, wow. So my journey, and I push this on to schools, and I push it on to corporate companies, and that there is help. There is help. What we need to do is we need to show people that it's okay to say, you can say to your friend, man, I'm really having a hard time. I need somebody to talk to. But because of stigma, we tend to keep it ourselves. And that's what happened to me. And eventually I had a breakdown, complete breakdown. Look, I joke about it now. I say I had a breakdown, but it serves me right for buying a Fiat. But then it just happened. So, but that's the thing, and it's the I use humor. I use humor as the what can I say? As the coping mechanism. But obviously, people, if there's anybody out there listening to us now that are really worrying about their personal welfare and their health, mental health, I urge you 100% to go and find somebody. Talk to your friend, talk to your mum, talk to somebody, because it's not shameful. It's actually, it's very, very brave to say, hey, I am struggling, guys. Please help me. Yeah, so that's what it's about. So my talk is all about this very bad things that happened to me in my life and how I used humor as a tool every time to find resilience to come through. I'm sure you guys have a hard time. I'm sure, I mean, you're radio jocks and people think, oh, these guys have got the easiest job in the flipping world. I bet you have sleepless nights thinking, what am I going to do tomorrow? How am I going to do this? Will the people still like me? Am I right? Give me a nod if you're right. If I'm right, yeah.
Yeah.
You're
So
very much correct,
Yeah.
actually.
mental health is a very, very important thing out there that we all need to use. And because of who I am, perhaps, maybe, and I'm able to do it. My default is comedy. My default is comedy. So I use humor to help myself. So my whole talk is about, hey, dudes, why don't you use humor? And I've actually written a course. I've written a course called Talk Funny. It's an online course that you can buy. It's very, very cost effective. And it teaches you how to write your own jokes, to handle your own problems. The guy said to me the other day, what do you think about taxis? I said, I don't know. Taxi drivers are pretty good salesmen. He said, why? I said, I saw a taxi for sale the other day. Big sign, taxi for sale, flickers never used. Needs new hooter. So, because those are real things.
Yeah.
Those are real things, man. And so we rather just laugh about it, and that way we can handle it. A policeman stopped me, said to me, I want a bribe. I said, good idea. Give me 500 rands, I'll leave you alone. You've got to do it. We live in a strange society, but I mean, I can basically work anywhere in the world, but I choose to work here in South Africa because I love it. So I still believe South Africa is the greatest place in the whole world. We have odd people on either side of the thing, you know. But I think the majority of people are wonderful here. And I mean, I've traveled all over the world. I really have. And I don't know if you've ever had the privilege to go overseas. If you go overseas and you try and talk to somebody like we do as South Africans in the street, they'll look at you like you're a mass murderer. But here you say, even the guy that's like sort of asking for money at the traffic light, you can say to him, how's it? And he goes, how's it? And you say, look, I've got no money. He goes like, okay, don't worry, maybe tomorrow. That shows how wonderful South African people are. Yes, the guy's struggling. Yes, but you say to them, I honestly say, look, I've got no cash on me. Okay, no worries. See you soon. So you make a joke about it, and you go forward and enjoy your life.
Uh, you know what? When it comes to the mental health part of people's life, I think, well, like just like what you said, talking about it and being able to at least find your comfort zone where you can freely express your how can I call it? Parts of you that are imperfect, and being able to expose them as one of the greatest things. But then it comes with how do you deal with them when people basically turn your imperfections and make them a weapon against you?
Well, you can do a lot of self-help, but I would imagine you need to understand that we're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. So when somebody is talking bad about you, secretly they're saying, you know what, I wish I could do what you could do. That's what they, I mean, if I had a rand for every time somebody told me I was useless, I'd be on a yacht somewhere in the Mediterranean. So but it happens. It happens. And I think, can I just bring up your personal culture? We call it the black culture in South Africa. I've noticed a lot of my children's friends, with the new where they all go together, and these kids come to my house and they whatever and they talk. And I cornered the one guy the one day and I said to him, "But what's wrong with you?" And he said to me, "Uncle Baz, I'm really battling and all this stuff." And I said to him, "Dude, well, why don't you speak to your dad about it?" And he said to me, "I can't, because when I speak to my father said, we are from this place. Boys do not cry.
Yeah.
Mm.
Grow up." Which is a terrible thing to say, because your child is reaching out, "Please, I need help." And imagine that, "Dad, I need help to talk about this." "Oh, shut up. Just man up." And that becomes, I think that's an ingrown part of our culture.
Yeah.
We just have to be, men don't cry, which is nonsense. You should be able to cry. And I think men can cry. And if you cry for a reason, how can somebody diss you on that? It's stupid. So it's cool. We need to understand, and we need to go to kids and say to them, "Guys, it's okay that you can't spell properly. It's okay that you're not the best football player in the team. It's okay."
Yeah.
I mean, nobody is perfect. Look, I'm close to perfect. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? If I've got a fault, it's probably modesty.
Wow.
So yeah, so mental health. I'm so glad we're talking about this now,
Yeah.
because I have a very important message that I'm sharing with as many corporates and stuff I can do, and I address a lot of school teachers, because they say they have big problems in their class with the kids. And I don't know what it's like in your direct sort of area where you live, but I'm sure there's people out there. And too many people, they get mental health problems. What do? Let's have a drink.
Yeah.
Mm.
The worst thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
Yo, look, let's smoke some Zol. At least we'll laugh about
That's true. That's true, because we can attest to what you're saying. Because right here in our townships, there are people who hide things, from the society in general, because of the cultural ways of how we grew up. We will even
it.
give
Yes.
ourselves these big names, that I come from the clan of the elephants, of the lions, and lions do not cry. And it's true. It's true what you're speaking about. And this comes to me asking you about your journey in public speaking, because you're speaking with corporate people. But now we have this problem that is being not, they're not paying attention to it. We have a lot of comedians who are going through a lot and no one is speaking about it. So, does
Not
your
only
job?
comedians, singers. Look at what was HH a couple of years ago? He killed himself. What was his name? The,
Um,
the Zimbabwean rapper,
Double
Double H.
HP, double HP.
Double HP, yeah. He was brilliant. I worked with him. Must have been 3 or 4 months before he did that, and he seemed cool, but he was obviously hiding his pain. And then one day it got too much for him and said, "Look, I'm out. Boom, gone." What a waste. What a sadness, because he had this incredible talent, but he couldn't share his pain with anybody. How sad is that? Terrible.
Yeah. So now, your work, of raising awareness about mental health, does it now overflow and you speak with comedians in general? Because you are a comedian, you know how it feels to become in the space. The pressure that comes with becoming a comedian. Do you
Sure.
speak with other fellow comedians and make them feel comfortable with speaking about what they're going through?
Yes, I try, and it's not only comedians, anybody. I'll look at somebody and you can see, I'm not a psychologist, nowhere near it. But if you say to somebody, "Are you happy?" and if they hesitate, then there's something wrong. If you say to me, "Barry, are you happy?" I'll say, "Yeah," because I'm at that level. But if you say, "Barry, are you happy?" and I go like, there's something wrong. You should be happy. You should understand that. So there's a lot of comedians, and I'm very blessed that I get a lot of requests from young comedians. Hey, they call me Uncle Baz. Hey, Uncle Baz, I've got this joke. Can you help me with it? And I go, "Yeah, but why don't you do it? I'm too scared." And I say to them, "Dude, if you don't face your fears and acknowledge that you're not this perfect person, you will never get better. So make it happen. Go out there and make it happen." And the sad part about it, because of we youngsters like yourself, you live in this world of instant gratification. And I think that compounds problems if you've got problems. You know, why does your friend will say to you, because there's bullies everywhere, your friend will say to you, have you still got that same phone? "Oh no, man, I've got the latest da phone." What are you, a loser? That's what happens in society.
Yeah.
And they bring you down. You should be strong enough to say, "No." Do you like soccer?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Very huge.
You know Mardo Sane?
Who?
You know that from I forget, he's an African guy. He's a brilliant football
Oh,
player.
Mario Sane. Yeah, yeah.
He drives a Mini, an old Mini, okay, about 10 years old. He's got a like an iPhone 6 or something like that. He's earning in the region of, I don't know, 250,000 euros a week. And people say to him, "Why don't you drive a Rolls Royce? Why don't you drive this?" And he says, "Actually, what I've done with my money, I've opened a school where I live." You know, he gives a stipend to every person of his village. Gives them, I think, $100 a month. Every single person.
Yeah.
Now that is medicine, Paul, because he's got all this fame and massive thing, and it hasn't gone to his head. And he realizes people need help, not only financially, but imagine somebody of that stature opening a school because he can. Yes, I'm giving back to society, and I don't think enough people do that. Actually, this is mine. I want a Porsche. I want this. I want that. I want that. And then you put that pressure on other people, and then why can't I have it? Why can't I have it? Mental health creeps in. Boom, boom, And I'll be honest with you. There was at least 4 or 5 times in my life that I actually contemplated sort of ending it all. But I have a young child. I have 6 children, 7 with my nephew that's joined our clan. But I have a youngster, 15, and now you got to think to yourself: if I do that, it's my troubles will be over, but their troubles will only start and amplify. So it's a very important message we should set out, and you guys are a fantastic vehicle to pass that message along to your listeners. It's okay, guys. It is okay.
Yeah.
If you're not Superman, it's okay. Be cool, man. Have a laugh about it. It's what it's about. It's silly, isn't it?
Yeah.
I went to the doctor. He said to me, "You got asthma." I said, "I want a second opinion." He said, "Okay, you've got bronchitis." I like.
Yeah,
How
yeah. Interesting.
do you how do you handle your pressure? Because I know you have serious pressure.
Yeah, yeah. We do. And it's people like you know, who come in our platform and make us, feel comfortable with what we have. Because in this space, so much is happening. There's so much pressure that you need to always keep up with. Because as mentioned, that we live in a world and a society of instant gratification. We always want, the latest iPhone. We always want the latest, fashion brand that's on the block. And now I want to ask you, in terms of differentiating, because you turned professional in 1983, at the age of 26, right? So compared to your days back in the days and to now, the modern ways of living things, of how youngsters are living, and especially in the comedic space, do you think that there's a huge shift? Is it still the way as you were doing comedy, or it has changed totally?
It's massively changed. First of all, the type of material when I started, it was jokes. Two guys walking down the road, and the one said. Then it transitioned into observational humor, then situational humor. Now it's sort of anybody goes there. The trouble with today, you get a young comic who does 5 minutes in front of his friends, and then he gets up and does an open mic night and sort of does okay. Then all of a sudden he walks around and says to people, "I am a comedian." Seriously? God, when I started, you had to do 45 minutes. If I did a corporate, 45 minutes, boom. And here's the thing, if you go do that corporate the next year, the same corporate, they don't want to hear that last 45 minutes. They want to hear a new 45
45
minutes.
minutes, yeah.
So if you're a comedian out there, you think you're a comedian, you got 5 minutes, man, you're nothing. But the point, I'm not knocking these kids down. Work on it. You've got a skill. Work on the skill. Make yourself better.
Yeah.
People don't realize our pain, bro. How many people have said to you, as when you say, "I'm a radio jock, that's my job," and they go, "What? That's not a job."
Mm.
Am I right?
A lot of people, man.
They're jealous
Yeah.
because it's like we can sit and do, but you are using your natural talents, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You have a feeling for it. So I applaud all young people, and there's some great young comics out there who are actually really working hard, and they will become huge. And that's what it's about. Hard work. What do they say? The universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for those words, man. And we have seen that in the space, a lot of young people, they go into comedy for wrong reasons. So, what advice do you have for someone who is doing comedy for money?
Um, I think they should be doing comedy for themselves, to get on stage and to understand the power of making people laugh. Money should be the secondary motivation. I remember once I was doing a gig at Carnival City. I got 4,200 people solid. It was sold out. And I heard about this young comedian in Durban, and I phoned him up. I said, "Listen, dude, can you get to Joburg?" He says, "Why?" I said, "Because I've got the show. I've got 4,200 people, and I heard that you're pretty good. I want you to come up and do 15 minutes. Open my set for me. I'm in front of 4,200 people." You know what the guy said to me? "How much am I getting paid?" I said, "Dude, I'm giving you an opportunity to show your talent to
4,000 people.
4,200 people." He said to me, "No, it's unfair.
Wow.
You getting paid. Why can't I get paid?" I said, "Have a nice day." Put the phone down.
Oof.
I've never heard of him again. So you've got to. I mean, you didn't become where you are. You're not sitting in that studio because you woke up last week and thought, "Oh, I'm going to be a radio jock." You've worked. How many years has it taken you to get there? Plenty much. So for young kids, you've got to go out there, hard work. What do they say? That there's a story there. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Nice words.
That's why you guys are sitting where you are, because you work hard.
Yeah.
Besides, I've said that. I want to just tell the listeners now, I've said all these brilliant things about you because I got that 500 rands from you yesterday, and I really do appreciate it. So you guys are doing a great job. Well done. And just be cool out there, man. We lucky to be living in South Africa. It's the best place.
Into Mr. Paz.
Thank you for the amazing words. I noticed that you also, like this past month in March, you also had a comedy Yamakrotman with Tallest Mo, David Gau. So I wanted to know, how was it basically the celebration of what I would refer to as OG comics in South Africa?
OG comics are the guys that put in the work, man. They put in the work. OGs, the original gangsters. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, they make it happen. Do you know how many shows I've done?
No.
Take a guess.
What, 10?
500.
500.
7,000.
Wow.
I'm counting from March and I'm like, 20. But
I've done
obviously, over the
7,000 shows.
years,
David Carr is a great comic. People should go listen to him. He's an established, very good, very clever comedian. There's a lot of guys out there that are excellent. Umpo Pops, top of the world. So if you want to be there, you have to start at the bottom. You have to be able to say, this is what I do. You've got to take the knocks. You've got to understand that you're learning, and ask advice from other comics. And if the other comics are comfortable with themselves, they'll help you. But if other comics refuse to help you, then they are insecure.
The afraid of competition.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, but
competition is good.
But now when it comes, into going deep into the positive competition that they're trying to create for themselves, some, comedians, they will tell you that, no, man, when we were doing comedy down there, in that spot at the tavern, and then you're the one who, gets noticed and say, Mr. Barry, come work with us, and then you start making money. Some comedians, they feel like it's not necessary, to go back and pull the guys up and then bring them into the space that you've been introduced in. What are your ways when it comes to that? Do you think it's necessary to say, okay, since they've chosen me, guys, these are the steps that I've taken, and now I'm trying to bring you into the space that I am in. You are going to get booked and things like that. Some comedians, they feel like, you know what, nah, do it for yourself, man. You get noticed at some time.
Even the greatest footballers in the world practice the same basic drills every single day. Okay? So, I hope I've understood you correctly. I often go back to grassroots venues, just pop up and do 5 minutes. A, because it's fun for me, and B, because people at the venue go like, wow, I was there at this venue and Barry Hilton arrived. This venue must be great. These comics must be great. So you've got to give back. You've got to help oaks. You've got to do it all the time. I often go to smaller clubs and I never charge. I just walk on stage and say, hey, guys, give these kids applause. They're really cool. Make it happen, Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Every second of what I've asked you, have answered it correctly.
I hate to hear you doing discos for bar mitzvahs and stuff like that too now. So you got to go back to.
All right, because I also read that you were inspired by comedians like Richard Pryor and Billy Connolly. So,
Billy Connolly.
are those still your inspiration, or you have found the young ones on the block who'll be like, no, man, these ones, they remind me of who I used
Yes.
to be back in the day?
Billy Connolly was just somebody special. Richard Pryor was just, to me, he's the best comic that ever lived. I personally believe that.
Yeah.
Billy Connolly was unique, but there's a lot of brilliant young comedians out there. I mean, the world changes. Just because you're a comedian doesn't mean you're going to stay at the top for the rest of your life. You have to work at it. There's some brilliant young comics in South Africa that people should go out of their way to watch. Like I told you, Pops, he's very, very classy. There's an Afrikaans guy. What's his name? Skalk Bezuidenhout.
Yeah.
Exception. He's an exception comic.
Yeah.
Alfred, the guy from Cape Town now, Alfred, I forget his flippant surname. I'm the worst with names. Mark Lottering and him just did a whole stunt together, and he did really, really well. But how will we get great comics if the new comics don't want to come in? And it's the job of the great comics, the established comics, to help the new guys come in.
Yeah.
But the guys who refuse to help the youngsters are insecure in their position.
Oh, interesting to hear that. Interesting to hear that. And I hope that the information that we have shared to anyone who was listening right here on the Vooka Breakfast Show, they have learned so much. And thank you with those profound ways, Mr. Barry Hilton, right here on the Vooka
Can I
Breakfast
say
Show.
something very quickly?
Yeah.
I've had lots and lots and lots of interviews. Okay. It is so refreshing to hear original, focused, thought-provoking questions from you two young people. Usually, you guys are doing a great job, and I applaud you. Well done, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So,
It
Mr.
means
Barry,
a lot,
before we close, right? I have a quick game with you. You just have to choose one comedian. I have a variety, names of comedian right here on my screen. So I'm going to read out names. You choose one, right? So
who's the best?
Yes.
Okay.
So the first one is Benny Mac or Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor.
Eddie Murphy or Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle.
Kevin Hart or Chris Rock.
Chris Rock.
Now, coming to local, Trevor Noah or Mark Lottering.
Trevor Noah. Come on, Trevor Noah is a genius.
Riyad Musa or Nick Rabonowitz.
Riyad.
Lastly, Celeste Ntuli or Tumi Morake.
Celeste.
Wonderful, Mr. Perry. So in conclusion, man, where can people find you? And because you've started public speaking, where they can contact you? Do you have an email? Do you have a website where they can go to?
I've got a website, barryhilton.com. Yeah, and the .com is for a website, not comedy. barryhilton.com. Thanks very much for having me on your show. And once again, I applaud you for giving me great questions. Well done.
Thank you,
very
Mr. Perry.
much.
Have a good day ahead of you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.